Hey, welcome back. And in today's video, we're going to talk about SoFi and my experience comparing it to traditional banks like Chase, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and what I see the differences between the two. So first, what is SoFi's goal? And their goal is to get your money right. And over the past few years, I think they've taken real strides to achieve that goal for their members. It's also important to know the history of SoFi. And SoFi started out as a student loan refinancing company that sought high-earning graduates who had a lower risk of defaulting and offered them lower rates than competitors. Fast forward 10 years, and now they have a new management, a bank charter, checking, savings, investing, and many other products and services that have transformed them into one of America's largest neobanks. Now, not only do they have all of those consumer, commercial-facing products, but they also operate the back end as a payment processor with their Galileo and Technisys businesses. And this is what makes them not only a bank, but also a tech platform, which is why they're listed as SoFi Technologies. Now, although they operate on all these different mediums, SoFi's identity has primarily been in student loan refinancing, even to this day, despite their wide breadth of products and services. And the mainstream media depicts them as just a student loan refinancing company. And that is where I believe a lot of the opportunity lies. The misunderstood nature of this company, as well as its staggering growth, capable management, and massive serviceable addressable market, are all reasons why I think this bank could be a top 10 financial institution in the world, just within the next 6 to 10 years. Now, if they were to become a top 10 financial institution in the world, that would give them a market cap of over $100 billion, which is over 1,000% return from this point. And for those of you who don't know how SoFi makes their money, it's the same as any other commercial bank. And their business model, for all intents and purposes, is they take your money and they loan it out and keep the spread between the interest rate that they receive and the interest rate that they give you as a depositor. So they offer many different banking services and loan products, and that makes them much like all of the other banks, excluding the Galileo and Technisys side of their business. So why would you even bank with SoFi in the first place? Before you can invest confidently in a company, you must find out if they have a competitive advantage and if there is a market that needs their products or services. Now I took it upon myself to open up a bank account with SoFi, as well as an investment account and even a Roth IRA account. And I wanted to compare the differences between my old bank account, which was Chase, and I had credit cards and investment accounts through there, and see what the differences was and if they actually had an advantage within the commercial banking space. Now, first, their checking and savings were just better. And the reason I say this is because the interest rate on my current checking and savings account is 0% and 0.05% respectively, while SoFi's rates, on the other hand, are 1.2% without direct deposit and 4.3% with direct deposit on both the checking and the savings account. Now, the question often comes up, why aren't these large banks paying these high interest rates to their customers? Well, the two main reasons are dividends and profits and their branches. The simpler of the two reasons is these banks cannot offer higher interest rates because they have far more overhead costs with their physical branches throughout the country. And this obviously costs them more money as they have the overhead of the physical branches and they have to pay employees and pay all the taxes included with all of those operations. And some of that is supported by the interest generated from their depositors' capital. Now, the more nuanced and speculative reason they don't pay a higher interest rate to depositors is that they refuse to take a short-term hit in their profits to ensure the long-term domination in banking. My bank, as well as others, don't want to raise their interest rates because if they did, their profitability would drop drastically and the stock prices of their companies would follow suit. Now, this is great for shareholders in the short term as they squeeze out as much profit as possible. But in the long term, when the younger generation of users is deciding which bank they will use, they will go with the more feature-rich, digitally native company that offers them better rates and benefits. Now, moving on to their investment platforms. Chase and SoFi both offer typical accounts, such as regular brokerages and IRAs. Now, the main difference between the two, as I have noticed, is the user interface and fractional shares. Brokerages like Robinhood, Fidelity, Interactive Brokers, and many others offer fractional shares. And it makes no sense for companies as large as Chase or Bank of America not to offer this. However, we don't really know the reason why they don't, but to speculate for a second, it's probably just because they don't need to. They really don't see themselves at risk from these neobanks and these digitally native platforms, at least as of now. However, as SoFi and others continue to innovate and improve their offerings, there will come a point when users will churn. And I believe we are close to hitting that point, especially for the younger audience who haven't known life without the internet and have no need for a physical branch. Now, moving on to the loans, although I'm not going to take out a loan through both banks just to test it, I do know that SoFi's experience is simpler but tougher than that of most other banking institutions. And that's because they only target users with higher credit scores, reducing the chance of defaulting and allowing for more consistent loan underwriting. While they may offer a smaller portfolio of loans, the underwriting process is really where the money is made, as defaults can negate the impact of a high interest rate spread. Another thing that SoFi offers that has a really big impact on a lot of people is just the fees and other BS that comes with having a Chase or Bank of America account. Now, since I switched from Chase to SoFi, it has been refreshing not to be charged random fees that I don't remember even signing up for. Additionally, there are no minimums for checkings and saving accounts. And this zero fee policy cannot be underestimated, as it may not have a huge effect on me personally, but for families, single mothers, and anyone who's living paycheck to paycheck, a random $15 to $30 fee out of nowhere for some obscure rule or account minimum can be detrimental. And this can result in serious churn if customers actually become fed up with all of these fees and see that there's an alternative without them. And the reality is, with the technology that we have today, account maintenance should not be a significant cost to a user, and yet these large banks continue to exploit them. Now, why am I investing in SoFi? Currently, I'm building a large position in my portfolio with SoFi because I believe that it is truly a superior product to the large banks in America, and it has an effective leadership helmed by Anthony Noto, who has a proven track record in banking. SoFi is currently valued at over $7.8 billion as of July 5th, 2023, and as they approach GAAP profitability with a growing user base that utilizes many of their products, I think it's extremely undervalued stock. And within the next 10 years, it could become a top 10 financial institution in the world with approximately over $100 billion market cap. Now, it's going to be no easy task to be a top 10 financial institution in the world, but the reason I believe that they can become that large is that they have been growing users at a compound annual growth rate of 57% over the past 2 years, while also monetizing their existing customers more throughout that time. And if you want to look more at their financials, which I recommend that you do, I will link their most recent investor deck from the last quarter here in the description. Now, this video by no means is comprehensive, and it leaves out a lot of factors in the investment decision, such as the fact that they are not currently profitable, stock-based compensation, other competitors, and the fact that they have 2 other large businesses within SoFi, namely Galileo and Technesis, that I also did not reference many growth rates for, and the financial metrics. And although I know them myself, you should look into them before investing in SoFi. Now, this is just one bull case from a consumer and investor that transitioned from Chase Bank to SoFi. So do your own research and determine for yourself if this company is really worth investing in. And if you're interested in companies like SoFi, there's a great company called Nubank, and they're another neobank based out of Latin America that is growing like a weed. And I'll have a video out on them soon. Now, that's all I had for you today. I'll see you in the next one.